Welcome to SVG-TV's news for Wednesday, January 20th, 2016. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Several protesters were today arrested on the picket line just outside the electoral office. Leader of the New Democratic Party and other supporters joined the picket line after receiving word of the arrest of the 6 protesters who had been given their support to the NDP, who is challenging the results of the December 9, 2015 general elections. NDP leader Annie Musa says that he could not comprehend why the 6 persons were arrested and their placards and other items were taken away when they were, as he described it, peacefully protesting. Musa further pointed out that he would not tolerate the harassment and infringement of rights of those who wish to express their contempt over what he claims was a contaminated general elections.
People have been here very quiet. They ain't been in any quiet anybody. They've been excited. They've been calm. Okay, now they're looking after their own business. Calm. They've been calm. Nobody tried to break down anything or mash up anything. You come in here, take with the things from them this morning, chairs, all kind of thing. They have not done anything like that here. They've been peaceful all the time.
The opposition leader called on persons to show their solidarity by coming out tomorrow in their numbers on the protest line.
They're harassing people. People have rights. And I'm glad they're standing up and defending their rights. They're calling again now. Tomorrow, I want plenty of people to come here from all over St. Vincent and Grenadines. Here. Yes, to protect we have rights, constitutional rights. They can't be taken away from us. They must be recognized.
And the NDP Central Leeward candidate in the December 9, 2015 general elections, Benjamin Ben Exeter, spoke to SVG-TV News about his disappointment with what he says is the state of democracy in the country. He questioned why in 2000, when what was dubbed the roadblock revolution did not produce as many arrests and charges by the police. Exeter also called on the diaspora to speak out on what he claimed to be the violation of the rights of Vincentians.
I don't think democracy exists in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. If memory serves correctly, in the year 2000, the same government came into office by demonstrating and also protesting, be it peacefully or not. I'm not certain, that's yet to be determined. But the people here today was peacefully protesting. That's all they were doing, and the rights have been violated. I don't think right now justice has been served in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the whole world knows what's happened to myself, which I can't make a comment on. But what is happening in St. Vincent right now, it's wrong. It's totally wrong. And I hope the world is listening and lend aid to St. Vincent people, because we need your help to come in here right now.
2 of the protesters who were arrested, Yvette Tittle and Roslyn Allen, returned to the picket line this afternoon despite being the first 2 of 6 persons who were arrested while on the picket line earlier today. The 2 women, along with others, shared their views with SVG-TV News on what transpired today.
I don't eat breakfast. Soon as I don't eat the breakfast, I see this gentleman with 2 other guys and a girl coming across. But I think it was a teacher just escorting children for a subject or something, then go inside the electoral office and come back out. They call this lady Roslyn. And I hear you telling Roslyn. Look here. 2 yards. 200 yards from the electoral office. I tell them I cannot understand. Explain it to me.
I feel no how because I expect it and I'm standing up for my right. I need right at justice.
I am here, I'm a Vincentian, right? And whatever bad happened in St. Vincent is all of us. If good come, it's all of us. I'm not here because of NDP or ULP. I'm here as a Vincentian, we're standing up for our rights.
I want to know how this country is getting to, and this place is getting so bad.
What I see here today is totally wrong for us as Vincentian people, that we cannot stand up for our rights. I was not in the protest, but what I heard other people saying that they were locking up people today, I saw it for myself that if an old lady standing up without a placard or do not have a placard or she's just empty-handed, that you're telling me that you're locking up this old lady.
And Commissioner of Police Michael Charles says the 6 picketers who were arrested today were in breach of the 200-yard radius rule by unlawfully gathering alongside the financial complex or the ministerial building. The Chief of Police told SVG-TV News that while the barricades have been removed from outside the electoral office, this does not mean that people should be obstructive to the commercial area.
You may have noticed that the bars that were at the electoral office have been removed, and it was removed after discussion because we can't continue inconveniencing business people around that area with the park and so on. Just as if, well, we removed the bars and we say that if the people want to protest, they will protest just as if the bars are there. As you may be aware that the distance is 200 yards away from any ministerial building, and the ministerial building in this case is the financial complex, which houses the Ministry of National Security and Ministry of Finance. 200 yards can safely say somewhere in the vicinity of the Chinese restaurant, just beyond the Chinese restaurant. So anyone coming beyond the Chinese restaurant into the electoral office is actually assembling unlawfully.
The Commissioner of Police then went on to explain that the police have been exercising extreme restraint and caution, that they would be forced to act and put their feet down if they have to. He also spoke of the possible charges which could be brought against the protesters.
People were sitting in the doorway for the electoral office. They were asked to move. They asked to move and they refused. They were arrested. I think some 6 persons were arrested this morning. And that is where we are so far. It's a democratic country. People have a right to protest peacefully. But we've been, let's say, holding back a lot. The police, we have had on our white gloves, and it's getting a bit too tedious now. People are becoming more boisterous, and we think it's time we put on our feet, and this is exactly what we're doing. If you protest, yes, between 8:30 and 5:30, 8:30 a.m., 5:30 p.m., you can protest. Business is going on, you can't be ringing bells, beating drums, etc. No, if you have a peaceful protest peacefully. But once it started, we will have to act, and that we started from this morning.
And these 6 persons, what they were charged with?
They're being processed right now. I don't want to make any comment on that, but they're being processed right now.
In other news, commenting on the recent bomb scare at the headquarters in capital Kingston and the setting of a fire on one of its utility poles in the Yambu area earlier this month, Chief Executive Officer of the St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited, Tony Myers, told a media conference yesterday these incidents do have an impact on the company's operations, maintaining that it is costly to increase measures to ensure that electricity is readily available for all Vincentians. Myers warned that these actions are not called for and highlighted what the company has done to address these kind of occurrences.
Since those incidents, we've had to significantly ramp up our security of our compound. We are in the process of acquiring and installing additional security devices. They're costing us. Those activities are costing us. Deviant behavior in any society only leads to moral and social destruction and cost to our country. As I said before, we have close to 26,000 poles. And the fact that a citizen would think that burning a pole is some kind of activity to be celebrated. It's shameful.
Mayor says the company is essential to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and urge all Vincentians to protect all of the infrastructure and services belonging to the company.
The state-owned, both governments that have been in power have taken special interest internet. It's questionable. So this is not about any government, it is about our company, and to the credit of all. Of course, there are moments in time when people take shots for one reason, but I think both governments have recognized the importance of energy and in terms of its development, and therefore have taken an interest in making sure that Vincent operates well.
As the Zika virus continues to spread across Latin America and the Caribbean, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment has urging persons to take every precaution to avoid being bitten by mosquitoes. The Zika virus is a viral disease transmitted by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, the same insect vector for dengue and chikungunya. There has been confirmed cases of the virus in neighboring territories of the Caribbean community. This is the first time Zika has been detected in the Caribbean region. SVG's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Simone Kieser-Beach, emphasizes the need for prevention and control measures to be taken in order to prevent transmission of the named virus. The Chief Medical Officer further states that there aren't any recommended restrictions on travel due to the Zika virus outbreak at this time. She, however, notes that to reduce the risk of contracting the virus, travelers should minimize exposure to mosquito bites by taking preventative measures. Persons are also encouraged to take note of credible reports suggesting a strong link between a Zika infection in pregnant females and unfavorable pregnancy outcomes such as stillbirths and birth defects. Notably, the microcephalia, specifically in keeping with the Pan American Health Organization guidelines, females who are pregnant or planning to become pregnant should seek prenatal care to receive information and monitoring of their pregnancy, as well as to follow their doctor's recommendations. Dr. Rosman Adams also says that the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment is optimizing all essential public health functions and services at this time, including robust vector and disease surveillances, premises inspection, mosquito eradication and control measures. The symptoms of the Zika virus are very similar to those of dengue and chikungunya and include fever, muscle and joint pain, headache, nausea and rash. There is also no vaccine or treatment for Zika. However, symptoms which last approximately 4 to 7 days are treatable. Coconut farmers, producers, craftsmen, officials from the Ministry of Agriculture and the Forestry Division and other stakeholders participated today in a training program which forms part of the Coconut Industry Development Project coordinated by the Caribbean Agriculture Research and Development Institute, CARI. The project, which runs for 4 years, is funded by the European Union, the EU, and involves 9 Caribbean countries, namely Belize, Dominica, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with $20,000 allocated to each country for the development of the coconut industry. In his presentation on the production of quality coconut planting material with specific focus on the establishment and management of nurseries, CARI's regional coordinator of the Coconut Project, Dr. Compton Paul, highlighted the organization's aim for the project, having already discussed the prominent issues faced by the coconut industry in each country.
Under this project, there are a number of activities, starting with policy issues in the Caribbean in coconut. Has to do with production of coconut, has to do with processing of coconut, has to do with marketing of coconut, has to do with financing arrangements available to people who want to go in any part of the coconut industry. The demand for coconut, as you know, has gone sky high. 800% increase in the demand for coconut products in the last 5 years or so. And therefore, everybody's trying to get onto the market for coconut products. We have to understand how to grow coconut properly, how to rehabilitate our plantations, and how to take this industry forward. And that is what this project is about.
With the national stakeholders platform present in each country under the project, Dr. Paul noted that CARDI has been guided as to what is needed for the proper development of a thriving coconut industry.
What this country needs is linked to what the Caribbean region needs, especially in terms of marketing. We're finding that in each of the countries we're working with, there's not much linkage between and among the countries, especially in the marketing aspect. There's a lady producing soap from coconut oil in Belize. She doesn't have a market regionally. So what we're trying to do here in this project too is to link markets across the region and then outside of the region to see where we can sell coconut products outside of the Caribbean region as well. So that the farmer who is growing coconuts here, he knows that he's shooting to market his products not only in the Caribbean region, but he has a chance of niche markets perhaps outside of the Caribbean region.
Urging persons involved in the business of coconuts to think ahead of time. Dr. Paul said that various techniques have been researched to see which will better benefit the coconut industries. He further added that CARDI will seek to create a greater knowledge of coconut and the coconut industry to build an even greater interest around the region.
We need to understand clearly, if we bring in tissue culture material of coconut, we need to understand how to wean and harden and then multiply and then take it into farmers' fields. And we need to know what it is that we're taking out into farmers' fields. So we have to be careful about bringing germplasm into the country. The project is taking on board within a week or two an IT specialist. That IT specialist will be based at CARDI headquarters in Trinidad and will develop a website specifically for coconut. And we'll develop a set of databases so that we intend to put in those databases every single bit of information we could find internationally, nationally on the coconut and put it into those databases. So that anybody who wants to know anything about coconut will go onto the website and dig up the information.
Meanwhile, the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, earlier this month signed an agreement with the Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, to provide assistance for the execution of the Technical Cooperation Project, the TCP. The agreement will also lend support to the development of the coconut water and composite flower value trains in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As part of its contribution to the project, the government, in the agreement, agreed to make available the requisite number of qualified national personnel and the buildings, training facilities, equipment, transport and other local services necessary for the implementation of the project. Projects to build the capacity of fisherfolk here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as some areas of concern, were today discussed with SVG-TV News and Senior Fisheries Officer Chris Isaacs, as his department seeks to implement a number of measures for 2016. Here is more on that interview with SVG-TV's Bavin Oliver.
The Fisheries Department is hoping to implement some plans on projects for the year 2016. One of these projects is the implementation of FADs, which are fish aggregated devices. These devices are aimed at assisting fisherfolks in catching a wide variety of fish. We had an interview with Chris Isaacs, the Senior Fisheries Officer, who explained the use of the FADs, as well as some other projects his ministry has in mind.
Another project that we have on stream is the Carifico project, which is the Caribbean Fishermen Cooperative Project. This is a Japanese-funded project where we at the Fisheries Division work along with different fishers and fishermen cooperatives. Basically, one of the main components of that is the construction of fish aggregating devices, also known as FADs. Now, these FADs act as basically man-made fishing grounds where we deploy them sometimes could be between 5 and 10 miles off the mainland in the sea, and this allows fishermen to go to a particular spot and be able to catch offshore pelagic such as dolphin fish, kingfish, and especially tunas and swordfish as they are passing through the region. Now, this is important in that it helps to lessen the amount of gas that a fisher would use when he's out at sea. So instead of basically just going around and looking, anywhere for fish, he would have this particular spot where he can go, and there's a higher percentage or higher probability that he will be catching fish there. So this project is definitely also an important one for 2016.
Speaking about a large aggregation of fish in the Stubbs Bay area last year, Isaac stated that this was the first the area has recorded such a phenomenon and stated some of the possible reasons for its occurrence.
Now, fish aggregating in that spot or in that manner could be down to different reasons. It could be that they were feeding in the area. It could be that they were spawning, fish aggregate for spawning. Or it could just be that they were moving from a habitat that was close by and found that this area was more favorable to them. We weren't able to do intensive research. Basically, we were just able to talk to fishers and residents of that area. And since it's basically dropped off after a while, then what we can do here at Fisheries is that we can just keep an eye out, not only this Stubbs area but also different areas, to see that if anything like this happens again, then we can know that it's definitely something to look at in the future.
Isaac stated that his department faced the issue of the sargassum seaweed in 2016, which hampered fishing and tourism regionally, and his department forms part of a task force which continues to monitor for future occurrences.
As we had the sargassum issue affecting basically the entire St. Vincent and the Grenadines, what happened was that the government instituted a sargassum task force, of which the Fisheries Division was a member. And what would have been done is that this task force would have gone through different areas of St. Vincent, not only mainland but also in the Grenadines, assessed the situation and tried as much as possible to get things in place for the removal of the sargassum from the beaches. And now we're also looking at putting something in place on a regional scale for if the sargassum comes across again this year. Like I said, it was a one-off issue last year, but with the way that the climate is going, who knows if this is going to be an ongoing thing. So it's definitely something that we need to keep an eye on.
This is Marvin Oliver reporting for SVG Television Evening News.
In other news, parents have been called upon to encourage their children to perform in the annual Primary Schools Performing Arts Festival, PRISPAF. The call came from coordinator of the festival, Martin Kwashi, at the official launch of PRISPAF 2016 yesterday. Designed to showcase the talents of primary school students across SVG, Kwashi said that the children should be given the opportunity to express themselves. He also noted that it was through his love for children and the arts, along with an initiative from the Ministry of Culture, which led to the development of PRISPAF.
They are given God-given talents, and nobody has the right to deny them of their performance of their talent. Nobody has the right. That is what God has given to them. And if we have to stifle their talent, then they might come out to be something that we do not really want. And we don't want the negatives in the society. We always cater for the positives in the society. So when they can sing, dance, act, do comedy, play an instrument, then we have to smile and encourage them. Rather than when we turn up to the schools and the school is telling me, a person like me, I don't know if they don't have any shame or what, that they don't have any talent in the school and they cannot perform. I mean, that usually almost send me crazy. That's how serious I take this thing, because I know that our Vincent people are very, very talented people, and it comes from small down there. And when they grow up, you see them as the Kevin Littles and the Skinny Fabulouses and all those kind of people, the Rodney Smalls. You see them, and then people would say, well, okay, these are people that we nurture from the primary school, from the preschool, come straight up.
Noting that there is a devoted interest in PRISPAF, not only from the coordinators and teachers, but from the sponsors. Dance officer at the Department of Culture, Maxine Brown, said that the department is always pleased to be a part of the festival and thank all coordinating teachers for their time and dedication.
We at the Ministry of Tourism, Sports and Culture are satisfied when others recognize that we not only promote culture for culture's sake, but we use it as an educational tool because we have a stake in education too, in educating the youth too. Be it through the arts. We are big on arts integration because we know that it has its significance within our school system. What better way to get the message across than through the arts? It can make that difference. The arts work, it does. PRISPAF is here again. PRISPAF, PRISPAF. Let's sing it, let's love it, let's embrace it, let's dance it. PRISPAF is here again in 2016. Let's bring it.
Happy with the magnitude of passion placed into the coordination of the festival, a representative of the 2016 PRISPAF sponsor, the ECGC's Raquel Haslam, said that the company firmly believes that extracurricular activities are able to leave a lasting impression on the nation's youth. Being the second year that the company is involved with the festival, Haslam commended the work of the organizers and the expectation for great performances this year.
Several of you here would also be able to relate to the National Music Festival that used to take place many years ago. My passion for singing came out of that music festival while I was at the prep school. And it is very sad that it no longer exists. I don't know if it's on the cards to be resurrected, but I do feel that there are persons in this room that may hear me. And on behalf of the management and staff of the East Caribbean Group of Companies, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all of the participating primary schools all the very best of luck in the festival. To you, the teachers, we applaud you. We applaud your dedication and commitment to the nation's youth. And to the organizing committee, the Ministry of Culture and Passion, we wish you every success with the 2016 Primary Schools Performing Arts Festival.
In some court news, Kenisha Hepburn, a 21-year-old domestic of Byra, was busted by the police at the Grenadines Wharf on Tuesday and charged for the offense of possession of 1,229 grams of marijuana. Hepburn appeared at the Kingston Magistrate Court earlier today and pleaded guilty to the charge. A fine of $1,600 was imposed upon her to be paid in 2 months or face 4 months in prison. Hepburn was reportedly intercepted by the police at the Grenadines Wharf when she arrived at a check-in point with one black suitcase. The police conducted a random search on her, but nothing was found. However, having carried out a search on the suitcase, this resulted in the discovery of 2 taped packages containing the drugs which led to her arrest. While delivering the facts of the case, court prosecutor Station Sergeant England Richards told the magistrate that the defendant, when questioned by the police about the drugs, told them that she was presently unemployed and that she was taking the drugs to Canawan to sell. In other news from the court, a jail term of 6 years was yesterday handed down upon Denzel Sam, a 20-year-old laborer of Otley Hall, after he was convicted on 2 separate charges of gun and ammunition possession on December 3, 2015 at Otley Hall. The charges stemmed from a search warrant which was executed by Detective Corporal Colin May at the dwelling house of Sam's girlfriend at Otley Hall on the date in question. During the search, 1 pistol and several rounds of ammunition were found, which resulted in his arrest. Before imposing the sentence, the chief magistrate told Sam that the evidence were inconsistent and that he had already chalked up some 16 convictions of similar nature.